All right, besties, we're back. And if you haven't been following this story, let me catch you up, because what's happening in bankruptcy court right now is next level corruption. In episode 1, we exposed how Judge Stacey Jernigan, a sitting federal judge, wrote a fictionalized hit piece on a hedge fund CEO while actively ruling on his billion-dollar bankruptcy case. She turned what should have been a simple reorganization into a full liquidation, handing out over $200 million in legal fees to her courtroom insiders. And when the CEO tried to get her removed for blatant bias, the courts let her stay on the case like nothing happened. Then in episode 2, we dug into how this isn't just about one shady judge. Bankruptcy courts are basically a legalized money laundering operation for law firms and insiders. Judges control who profits, who loses everything, and when it's all over, they retire into high-paying jobs at the same firms they enriched. And guess how many bankruptcy judges have been removed for misconduct in the last 20 years? 0. If you missed those episodes, go watch them now so you have the full picture. But today we're taking it even further. We're exposing exactly how these judges get away with it, why they're untouchable, and what needs to happen to stop this racket. And if they can do this to a billionaire hedge fund CEO, what do you think they can do to regular people? If you're new here, I'm Ari, and I break down corruption, cover-ups, and the power players who think they can get away with anything, but not on my watch. So make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, and like this video, because trust me, the people benefiting from this system would love for you to miss what's coming next.
Here is Ariadna Jacob,
social media expert and creatorgenius.com founder, Ari Jacob.
Her name is Ariadna Jacob.
Her story is the American dream story.
How does Taylor Lorenz still have a job?
Because she's intimidated people into silence. She's the bully, but she's calling you an abuser. I hope you end this. Ariadna Jacob.
The judicial immunity scam and why they can get away with anything. So let's say a bankruptcy judge hypothetically decides to write fictionalized hit pieces about people in their courtroom, hand out millions in insider legal fees, and blatantly favor certain parties. Can you sue them? Can you get them removed? Nope, because of judicial immunity, which basically means that judges can do whatever they want in the courtroom, and you can't sue them for it unless you can prove outright corruption, which is almost impossible because you're not in there. They're basically untouchable.
They have the power reserved to the highest court of all to grant a final acquittal.
And even when you do, like you got a book here and it's, hello, looks like me, talks like me, it's me, the system just protects them. Okay, so if you can't sue them, can you at least get them removed? Technically, yes, but in reality, absolutely not, because the process to remove a bankruptcy judge is basically a joke. Step 1, someone files a complaint. Step 2, the complaint goes to judicial court, which is made up of, you guessed it, other judges. Step 3, the other judges review it and almost always dismiss it. Step 4, nothing happens. The judge stays on the bench and everyone moves on.
But nothing can change it.
Unbelievable. Ashlyn D says, just looked up bankruptcy courts and this system was only set up in 1978. In other words, not outlined in the Constitution and quite new. Oh, wow. You're smart. I like smart chat. Can Doge do something about this? Oh, look at you guys. Now you're thinking. Wink. I honestly think we need to get it trending, seriously. So the last step is basically nothing happens. You're telling me that if a judge abuses their power and the people who decide whether or not they want to face consequences are other judges? Oh yeah, that's totally not gonna work. What a flawless system, right? Good thing is Elon actually, doesn't he live in Texas? I feel like this is right up his alley. It's not a flawless system. In fact, in the last 20 years, guess how many bankruptcy judges have been removed for misconduct? 0. Not a single one. They're literally above the law. Stacey Jernigan. This brings us back to Judge Stacey Jernigan. When James Dondero, who, let's be real, had every right to challenge her, filed for her removal, it went to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. And what do they say? While troubling, this conduct does not meet the threshold for judicial bias. What the heck meets the standard? Translation, yeah, this is sketchy, but we're not going to do anything about it. So let's be very clear. If writing a literal novel about someone while ruling on their case isn't enough for removal, what is?
You think we can escape from what is happening here?
I feel like this hole goes quite deep, and nobody wants us to start digging. So let's recap. Bankruptcy judges are appointed by other judges, not elected. They get 14-year terms with 0 public accountability. They can't be sued because of judicial immunity. They're almost never removed, no matter what they do. And this is why corrupt judges like Stacey Jernigan stay in power.
The system is rigged.
It's my opinion. She's corrupt. Sounds like it. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly the way it's designed to protect the insiders, not the people they're supposed to serve. And I hate that kind of thing, don't you guys? Judges are like the gold standard of justice, wouldn't you say? They're supposed to be. And trust me, this isn't just about Jernigan. This is about how bankruptcy courts across the country operate. So in the next part of my deep dive, we're going to look at other cases where bankruptcy judges have played the system to enrich themselves, the law firms that keep profiting, and why nobody in Congress is stopping it. Because if you think this is just one judge being shady, oh, you're not ready for what's next. Now we get to part 4, last part of today's episode, but not the last part of this saga. Law firms that keep the grift running. All right, we've established that bankruptcy courts are a rigged game, that judges like Stacey Jernigan are basically untouchable, and that legal fees, not justice, are the real priority in these cases. But here's where it gets even shadier, because the judges aren't the only ones getting rich off the scam. There's an entire network of law firms that specialize in bankruptcy cases, not to help people or businesses recover, but to extract every last dollar for themselves. Sounds greedy.
Kinda greedy.
So tonight, we're pulling back the curtain on the insanely powerful, disgustingly wealthy law firms that run the bankruptcy racket, how they keep the grift going, and why they're way too close to the judges deciding these cases. Okay, how does this actually work? When a company files for bankruptcy, there are 2 ways it can go. Reorganization, the company restructures its debt and continues operating, or liquidation. The company gets completely shut down and all its assets are sold off. And guess which option makes the law firms more money? Liquidation. Because when a company stays open, legal fees have a cap. But when a company gets dismantled, the fees are
Limitless.
They can bill out for every single hour spent dragging the process out. And this is exactly what happened with Highland Capital. What should have been a basic restructuring turned into a $1 billion liquidation free-for-all, and the law firms involved, they got paid first. So who got paid in the Highland Capital bankruptcy? All right, let's talk numbers. These are the actual amounts billed by the law firms in the Highland Capital case. Pachulski, Stang, Zeal, and Jones, $54.4 million. Sidley Austin, $46.5 million. Hayward, PLLC, $16.7 million. Other firms and advisors, $89 million plus. Total, $200 million in fees, besties, just for handling a bankruptcy case. I need y'all to understand that this isn't just excessive, this is straight up wealth extraction. And so, of course, these judges and lawyers want to keep the grift going if this is what's going on. And here's where it gets even more corrupt, in my opinion, because these same law firms that profit from these bankruptcies, they're the ones hiring retired bankruptcy judges. So let's say you're a bankruptcy judge. You oversee massive cases, approve massive legal fees, and make sure the right law firms get paid. Then, after you retire, boom, those same law firms offer you a cushy 7-figure job. And this happens all the time. It's a closed loop system. Judges help law firms cash in, and in return, they get a golden parachute when they step down. It's like legalized bribery.
The government wants everybody to be scared to speak out.
And of course, someone earlier said, it sounds like a massive conflict of interest. Absolutely. Now, you might be wondering, shouldn't there be rules against this? Shouldn't a judge have to, I don't know, disclose if they're financially tied to the law firms in their courtroom? There are disclosure rules, but guess what? Bankruptcy judges don't have to follow the same financial disclosure rules as other federal judges. That's right. A federal district judge has to file a public disclosure of their assets, investments, and potential conflicts of interest. A bankruptcy judge? Nope. They're exempt from those rules. So if a bankruptcy judge is secretly financially connected to the law firms profiting from their cases, you'd never know. Isn't that wild? This is why judges like Jernigan can approve $200 million in fees for her courtroom buddies with zero oversight. Nobody's watching, nobody's stopping it, and that's exactly how they want it. All right, guys, let's recap. Law firm makes way more money from liquidations than from saving companies. They drag out cases for years to bill as many hours as possible. They hire retired bankruptcy judges, ensuring rulings stay in their favor. And because bankruptcy judges aren't required to disclose the conflicts of interest, nobody can stop it. This isn't just how bankruptcy works. This is how it was designed to work. To be a money printing machine for law firms and insiders, while actually employees, creditors, and investors get completely shafted. Here's the kicker. This isn't just a Highland Capital problem. This is exactly the scheme that's happening right now in other bankruptcy cases. In the next part of my deep dive, we're going to look at other corporate bankruptcies where judges and law firms pulled the same exact scam. Although I don't think they wrote books about the people in it, but maybe. And how they keep getting away with it. Because if you think this is bad now, just wait.
The system is rigged from the inside.
All right, so here's what actually happened. This didn't start as some massive billion-dollar bankruptcy case. It started as a small employment dispute, one fund, about $100 million at stake, which in the world of high finance apparently is nothing. But then Stacey Jernigan, with the great haircut, got involved. And suddenly, that one fund became the entire hedge fund. Suddenly, the case was in her courtroom. Is that weird how it just happened to be in her courtroom? And suddenly it wasn't a reorganization anymore. It was a full liquidation. And guess who walked away with $200 million in legal fees? Of course, the creditors, not the employees, the law firms. This wasn't some complicated legal process. This was a coordinated play. Move the case into the right courtroom where the right people could profit, expand it, drag it out, and make sure the money gets siphoned off before anyone else sees a dime. And apparently that's exactly what happened. A small dispute turned into a $900 million liquidation. And at the center of it all, a judge who was literally writing a novel about a hedge fund villain while ruling on a hedge fund case. You cannot make this stuff up. And trust me, I'm not done with this. The more I dig, the worse it gets. Let's just take a step back. This wasn't just a messy bankruptcy case. This was a blueprint for how judges can rewrite the rules, funnel millions of dollars to their courtroom buddies, and then sit back while the system protects them. And the fact that a federal judge was out here writing fictionalized revenge stories about people she was actively ruling against, that should be a scandal. Instead, it's just business as usual. You know what? I don't know what just happened, but there was balloons. Dragonfly, you were better than the New York Times with carrying the voice of integrity. Bet you never thought this would be your paradigm. I did not, but thank you so much. It's really sweet of you to say that. And hey, you know what? It's fun to expose this stuff because it's like, how is this legal?
So how is this legal?
And I don't know why journalism is dead. Like, how is nobody looking into this stuff?
Where are the reporters and the television cameras?
Like, how isn't this something that, exactly, where's Doge?
Where are the reporters, the photographers?
Ashlyn D says, honestly, this sounds similar to how politicians will be hired onto companies under government contract after leaving public office. Yep. This should be a scandal. And instead, it's just business as usual.
He showed it to me and I was like, I don't know, is this legal?
And if they can do this to someone with a lot of money, with an army of lawyers, what do you think happens to regular people?
They're just regular people.
This is why I speak out, because when the New York Times wrote the hit piece about me, I'm like, how is this real?
And then is this woman terrorizing the country and nobody has the stones to fight back? So thanks.
And then I found out all these other people that got screwed in the same system. People that were made out to be villains that were actually quite the opposite. So remember, staying quiet lets them win. Always speak out when you see someone getting canceled or treated unfairly. And whatever you do, don't be a crybaby. Make sure you're subscribed, like this video, and turn on your notifications because trust me, I'm not done with this one.